I, 27F, never thought I would be writing something like this, but I'm completely lost right now and need advice. I've been crying for days and can barely think straight, but I'll try to explain everything as clearly as possible. For context, my sister Sarah, 30F, got married last weekend to my ex-fiancé Mark, 31M. Yes, you read that right. The same Mark who I was engaged to 3 years ago before he suddenly broke things off with me claiming he wasn't ready for marriage. I'm still in shock and trying to process how this could have happened. Some background about our family: Sarah and I grew up extremely close despite the 3-year age gap. Our parents always emphasized family loyalty above everything else, and Sarah took her role as protective older sister very seriously. She would screen my boyfriends in high school, give me relationship advice in college, and was always my biggest supporter. We shared everything with each other, or at least I thought we did. Mark and I met during my sophomore year of college at a mutual friend's party. He was a senior studying engineering, and we hit it off immediately. He was funny, smart, and treated me with so much respect. We started dating a few months later and everything felt perfect. My family loved him, especially Sarah. She would invite him over for family dinners even when I couldn't make it due to classes. They bonded over their shared interest in photography and hiking. I was thrilled that my sister and boyfriend got along so well. After graduation, Mark got a job at an engineering firm in our city and I started working as a teacher. We moved in together and started planning our future. He proposed on our 4th anniversary during a hiking trip, one that Sarah had actually helped him plan. She seemed so excited when we announced our engagement and immediately offered to help with wedding planning. The next 6 months were a blur of venue hunting, dress shopping, and planning details. Sarah came to every appointment, helped me choose flowers, and even designed our wedding invitation since she works in graphic design. She was the perfect maid of honor, or so I thought. Then one day, about 6 months before the wedding, Mark came home acting strange. He sat me down and told me he had been doing a lot of thinking and realized he wasn't ready for marriage. He said he needed time to figure himself out and that it wouldn't be fair to go through with the wedding. I was blindsided and devastated but tried to be understanding. When someone tells you they're not ready, you can't force them, right? Sarah was the first person I called after Mark left. She came over immediately with ice cream and wine, letting me cry on her shoulder and telling me I deserved better. She helped me cancel all the wedding arrangements and even offered to tell our family so I wouldn't have to explain it over and over. Looking back now, I feel sick thinking about how she played me. Fast forward to 3 weeks ago when Sarah announced she was getting married. She had been very secretive about who she was dating, always making excuses about why we couldn't meet him. She claimed he traveled a lot for work and their schedules never lined up for family gatherings. When she announced her engagement, she said she wanted the groom to be a surprise and that we would all love him. I thought it was weird, but my parents seemed fine with it. They had apparently met him already but wouldn't tell me anything, saying Sarah wanted to reveal everything herself. The day of the wedding arrived and I was excited to finally meet this mystery man. I got to the church early to help Sarah get ready, but her bridesmaids, none of whom were mutual friends, said she was getting ready at a different location and would arrive just before the ceremony. That should have been my first red flag. When I walked into the church and saw Mark standing at the altar, I thought I was hallucinating. My knees buckled and my brother Tom had to grab my arm to keep me from falling. Before I could process what was happening, the wedding march started playing and Sarah appeared at the end of the aisle, beaming like this was the most natural thing in the world. During her vows, she actually had the audacity to talk about their beautiful love story and how they had kept their relationship private for 2 years because they wanted to be sensitive to family dynamics. She talked about how their friendship had blossomed into love and thanked our family for keeping their secret until they were ready to share it. I looked at my parents during this speech and saw them smiling and crying like this was some beautiful moment. Other relatives were wiping away tears too, apparently moved by this romantic story. I felt like I was in some twisted alternate reality where everyone had lost their minds. I couldn't stay to hear Mark's vows. I got up and walked out, ignoring my mom calling my name. I drove home in a daze and have been here ever since, trying to make sense of everything. My phone has been exploding with messages from family members. Some are calling me selfish for walking out and ruining Sarah's big day. Others are apologizing for not telling me sooner. A few relatives have expressed their disgust with Sarah and Mark's actions. Sarah has sent multiple texts trying to explain herself. She claims nothing happened between them while Mark and I were together, that their relationship developed naturally after our breakup. She says they kept it secret because they wanted to be sure it was real before telling me. The wedding reveal was supposed to be romantic apparently. She thought enough time had passed that I would be happy for them. My parents keep calling to explain their side. They say they only found out about the relationship a year ago and didn't know how to tell me. They claimed they were protecting me by keeping it secret until Sarah was ready to reveal it. But how is blindsiding me at her wedding protecting me? Mark hasn't reached out except for one text saying he's sorry for how everything came out and that he never meant to hurt me. The fact that he thinks a text message is sufficient after this level of betrayal shows exactly what kind of person he is. I don't know what to do now. I've blocked Sarah and my parents' numbers because I can't handle their excuses right now. Some family members are telling me I'm overreacting and should be happy that my sister found love, even if it's with my ex. They say enough time has passed that I should be over Mark by now. But this isn't about still having feelings for Mark, it's about the betrayal by my own sister and my family's decision to help her hide it. Am I crazy for feeling this way? Should I try to forgive them? Right now, I can't imagine ever having a relationship with Sarah again, and my trust in my parents is completely shattered. How do you move forward when your entire family has conspired to deceive you? Update 1: Things have gotten significantly worse since my last post. The betrayal runs deeper than I initially thought, and I'm struggling to cope with all the new information that's come to light. After blocking Sarah and my parents, I started receiving messages from people I hadn't heard from in years. Apparently, my post reached some mutual friends who had been carrying guilt about knowing things but not telling me. What they revealed made my blood run cold. 3 different friends have come forward with information that proves Sarah and Mark's 2-year relationship story was a complete lie. Emma, who works at a local coffee shop near Mark's office, sent me security footage from their parking lot showing Sarah and Mark kissing. The timestamp shows this was 2 months before he broke off our engagement. In the video, they look comfortable with each other, like this wasn't their first time meeting secretly. Another friend, Jake, who used to work with Mark, admitted that he had seen them together multiple times during lunch breaks while Mark and I were still engaged. He said he had convinced himself they were just close friends, but looking back, their body language was clearly more than friendly. Jake apologized for not telling me sooner, saying he didn't want to ruin things without concrete proof. The most devastating revelation came from my old roommate Rachel. She confessed that she had once seen Mark's phone light up with a message from Sarah that was definitely not sisterly. This was about 4 months before our breakup. Rachel said she had confronted Mark about it, and he fed her some story about planning a surprise party for me. She believed him because Sarah had always been so supportive of our relationship. When I confronted my parents with this evidence, especially the security footage, they broke down. My mom started crying and finally admitted that they had suspected something was going on back then. Apparently, they had noticed Sarah and Mark spending a lot of time together, but when they questioned Sarah, she convinced them they were planning things for the wedding. My dad said he had once seen them in what looked like an intimate conversation at a family barbecue, but Sarah played it off as wedding stress. The worst part is that my parents chose to ignore their suspicions rather than investigate further or warn me. They said they didn't want to ruin my happiness without concrete proof, but I think they were just trying to avoid family drama. It's almost worse knowing they had doubts but let me continue planning my wedding anyway. Today, I received a long email from Sarah. I wasn't going to read it, but curiosity got the better of me. I wish I hadn't opened it. She finally admitted that she and Mark had developed feelings for each other while he and I were still together. According to her, it started innocently, just 2 people bonding over shared interests. She claims they tried to fight their feelings at first, knowing it would hurt me. She wrote that breaking up with me was Mark's idea. He thought it would be more honorable to end things with me before they officially started dating. She actually tried to paint this as him being considerate, as if stringing me along for months while developing feelings for my sister was somehow noble. The email went on to explain how they started officially dating 6 months after our breakup, though based on the evidence I've received, I don't believe this timeline at all. She said they kept it secret because they wanted to be sure it was real before hurting me with the news. She ended the email by saying she hopes I can forgive them someday because we're still sisters and family is forever. I've been physically ill since reading that email. I've thrown up 3 times today alone. The thought that while I was planning my wedding, picking out dresses, and choosing flowers, my own sister was sneaking around with my fiancé makes me physically sick. Every memory of her helping with wedding planning is now tainted. Was she thinking about him while helping me choose my wedding dress? Was she imagining herself walking down the aisle instead of me? The only family member still firmly on my side is my younger brother Tom. He's 25 and had been living with our parents while saving for a house, but after learning the full story, he moved out. He said he couldn't stand to be around people who would condone this kind of betrayal. He's been checking on me daily and has also cut contact with Sarah. I've started seeing a therapist to deal with this betrayal, even though I was initially resistant to the idea. The level of deception from people I trusted most has shaken me to my core. Every memory from the past 3 years feels like a lie now. How many family gatherings did they secretly meet at? How many times did Sarah comfort me about the breakup only to go meet him afterward? I've received a few more messages from extended family members who initially defended Sarah but have changed their tune after hearing about the new evidence. Several aunts and uncles have reached out to apologize for their initial reaction at the wedding. But honestly, their apologies mean little to me now. The damage is done. I don't know how to move forward from this. My therapist says it will take time to process this level of betrayal, but right now, I can't imagine ever trusting anyone again. The two people I trusted most in the world, my sister and my fiancé, orchestrated an elaborate deception that spanned years. And my parents, who were supposed to protect me, chose to protect their lie instead. Update 2: When I thought things couldn't possibly get worse, life proved me wrong again. Tom came to my apartment yesterday with information that has completely shattered what little was left of my world. After moving out of our parents' house, Tom had been going back occasionally to collect his remaining things. During one of these visits, he found Sarah's old phone in a box of her stuff that she'd left behind when she moved out. Out of curiosity, he tried turning it on. To his surprise, it still worked, and Sarah had never logged out of her accounts. What he found made him sick. The messages between her and Mark went back much further than anyone knew, all the way to when I was still happily dating him. They had been having an emotional affair for over a year before anything physical happened. Tom spent hours going through everything and taking screenshots before the phone died. The messages show a calculated, deliberate betrayal that makes me question everything I thought I knew about my sister. They had been planning how to break up my engagement in a way that wouldn't make anyone suspicious. Sarah actually suggested Mark use the not ready for marriage excuse because she knew me well enough to know I would respect that reason and not push back. There were detailed discussions about how to act around me to avoid suspicion. Sarah deliberately played up her role as the supportive sister, making sure to be extra caring after the breakup so no one would suspect anything. She would text Mark about how well her performance was going when she comforted me. What hurts the most is reading their jokes about how oblivious I was. They would meet up at places where they knew I would never go, laughing about their secret rendezvous. Sarah would comfort me about the breakup, then text Mark immediately after about meeting up. They even had code words for each other in case they needed to communicate when I was around. The messages revealed that our parents had actually caught them in a compromising position once, about 4 months before the wedding reveal. Instead of telling me, they had a family meeting, without me, obviously, where Sarah and Mark convinced them that they were truly in love and that telling me would only hurt me unnecessarily. My parents agreed to keep their secret, thinking they were protecting me. Tom sent copies of all the screenshots to our parents. My mom called me sobbing, saying she had no idea the deception went this deep. She admitted they had suspected something but never imagined it had started while Mark and I were still together. My dad, who had always been close to Sarah, hasn't spoken to her since seeing the messages. According to Tom, he's completely devastated by her behavior. Several relatives who had been defending them have now apologized to me after seeing the evidence. My Aunt Linda, who had initially told me I was overreacting, called me in tears after Tom showed her some of the messages. She said she never would have defended them if she had known the full story. Sarah must have found out about Tom accessing her old phone because she sent me another email. This time, she didn't try to justify anything. She just begged me not to share the messages with anyone else, saying it would destroy her marriage and her relationship with our extended family. The fact that she's more concerned about her reputation than the pain she caused me says everything about who she really is. Mark finally tried to reach out directly. He left a voicemail saying he never meant for any of this to happen, that he had genuinely loved me when we started dating but something changed when he got to know Sarah better. He said he knows he handled everything wrong but hoped I could understand that sometimes people can't help who they fall in love with. I deleted the voicemail halfway through. I couldn't stomach hearing any more of his excuses. I've decided to forward all the screenshots to Mark's parents, who had always treated me like a daughter. They deserve to know what kind of person their son really is. Sarah probably won't like that, but I honestly don't care anymore about protecting either of them. Tom has been my rock through all of this. He's the only family member I still fully trust. He said he's looking for an apartment closer to mine so he can help me through this. I don't know what I would do without him right now. Update 3: The dust has finally started to settle, though nothing will ever be the same. Sarah and Mark returned from their honeymoon to find their perfect little world crumbling around them. After the screenshots got out, most of our extended family has cut contact with them. Even Mark's parents, who I forwarded the messages to, have barely spoken to him since. My parents are barely acknowledging Sarah's existence. Mom tried to play mediator at first, suggesting family counseling, but Dad shut that down immediately. He said he can't even look at Sarah without feeling sick about how she betrayed her own sister. According to Tom, Dad has removed all photos of Sarah from their house and refuses to discuss her with anyone. Sarah showed up at my apartment last week, completely uninvited. She was crying, saying their marriage is already struggling because the guilt is eating away at them. Apparently, Mark has become distant and moody since everyone found out the truth. She said he's angry at her for keeping the old phone that had all their messages. They've been fighting constantly about whose fault it is that everything came out. She begged for forgiveness, saying she would do anything to make things right. She even offered to leave Mark if that would help repair our relationship. I just laughed at that, as if leaving him now would somehow erase years of betrayal. I told her she should have thought about the consequences before spending 2 years helping my fiancé plan how to break my heart. Then I closed the door in her face. Mark's mother called me last week. She was crying, apologizing for raising a son who could do something so horrible. She said she and Mark's father have told him they won't be spending the holidays with him and Sarah this year. They've invited me instead, but I declined. As much as I appreciate their support, being around them would bring up too many painful memories. I've moved to a different city for a fresh start. Got a job at a new school and found a nice apartment in a quiet neighborhood. Tom visits regularly. He's actually looking for jobs in this area so he can move closer. My relationship with my parents is slowly improving, though I don't think it will ever be what it was. They call regularly and have visited twice, but there's always this underlying tension. Every time I look at them, I remember how they chose to protect Sarah's secret instead of protecting me. Some extended family members have suggested I should consider forgiveness, saying life is too short to hold on to anger. But this isn't about anger anymore, it's about protecting myself from people who prove they can't be trusted. I still have nightmares about the wedding day reveal, still feel sick when I remember all those messages between them. The only silver lining in all this is that I've discovered who my true family is. Tom has been unwavering in his support. A few cousins have really stepped up, checking on me regularly and helping me settle into my new city. I've also made some great friends at my new school who have no connection to my past life. I'm focusing on healing and moving forward. Some wounds can never fully heal, but I'm learning to live with the scars. Sarah and Mark's actions showed me exactly who they are, and my parents' choices showed me who they are. I'm choosing to surround myself with people who have proven their loyalty, not those who claim it through blood ties alone. Sometimes doing the right thing means walking away, even from family. I've chosen peace over toxic relationships, and I don't regret it for a second.